Tomorrow's Flight is a complete rewrite of the very first book, Yesterday's Flight, which I released as a self-published title and which became an Amazon genre bestseller. I never felt as though I got it quite right first time round, and I really felt that the story, it's such a big story, that I felt as though it needed more. Which is why we went back to it and completely redid it. And we've doubled the length of the book, and we've added a lot more detail in the book. And it's essentially about a group of passengers who take a red eye from Portland to Atlanta, and en route they encounter quite a violent storm. Once they pass through the storm, the pilot realises that none of his navigation and satellite-based systems are working. And when day breaks, he realises that they're not where they're supposed to be. The ground below them looks very different compared to anything that he's ever seen before. And he manages to land the plane as it runs low on fuel, and they very quickly realise that they're no longer where they left or when they left. And actually they've traversed time back to the Cretaceous period. So then it becomes about this small group of passengers on this largely empty sort of cargo stroke passenger plane. We invented an aircraft to suit the story. And its crew as they sort of battle the elements and the landscape and, the dinosaurs and things. But more importantly, it's about them sort of surviving with each other and the infighting and things. So it's as much about the human condition as it is about, surviving in the past. But the story has two timelines. So we're also in the contemporary period, where we follow a team of paleontologists that are uncovering what they think is a routine juvenile T-Rex fossil. And during the unearthing of it, they find a contemporary woman bone fossilised skeleton as well. And then they find a piece of the aircraft. So they call in the National Air Transportation Safety Board, the air crash investigators come in. And so we also follow them as their two disciplines, which are very different and often conflict, with each other, try and piece together what happened and how it could have happened and what happened to the crew and the passengers and things. And towards the end of the story, they start to come to some really startling realisations about it. So it's a real roller coaster. It's very, very much a thriller about the human condition, as much as it is science fiction about mankind living with dinosaurs. Yesterday's Flight was initially a self-published title, but when I decided to try and get it into a literary agency, if you like, I employed a former editor of Stephen King, a guy called Mike Garrett, who did a wonderful job on it. And I managed to get signed to a literary agent in New York, and she also had another book of mine, and she'd given it to one of her editors who worked freelance for, a guy called Stephen Stifel. And during the editing of the previous book, which was the Marshall Ellis incident, me and Steve sort of started to sort of talk about other projects and things, and I asked my agent to hand in Yesterday's Flight because I was so pleased and with the editing job he'd done on Marshall Ellis. And my relationship at that point with the literary agent ended, but me and Steve, rather than him working for me as an editor, which he'd done on Marshall Ellis, we decided that we would completely redo this book and rewrite it, and we would work more of a writing partnership than an editor-writer relationship. So that's proved really good, and we've now got other projects that we're sort of working on together as well, and we've loosely sort of started to put work together as well. So that's really how the book came about. It was just a loose conversation on the back of some of the work that had been done. It's taken roughly 3 years to completely rewrite it, which remember we already had half of the story anyway. So we had to completely deconstruct it. We had to sort of reinvent the characters, and we really wanted to sort of, like I say, fulfil its potential, which I never really felt that I did first time round. So as we get to this stage now, and we're just at the stage now where we're going to start going out to literary agents with it and publishers, we're about up to the 3-year mark. We undertook a lot of research with Tomorrow's Flight because we wanted to get not only the environment of the Cretaceous period and the climate and the oxygen levels and the type of foliage and things that were around that point right, but we wanted to get the dinosaurs as accurate as we think we can get them given modern paleontology and things. So we didn't run with the standard pop culture T-Rex of being this big, scaly, mindless, hulking lizard that just ran around eating anything that sort of it came across. Modern research suggests that it was a feathered animal, or it had some plumage at least, and that it was very family orientated. So we built a strong relationship between the mother Rex and the juvenile Rex, which is the ones that the paleontologists find in the dig site, but that our people on the plane encounter in actual life. And the same with the pterodons and the other smaller animals as well. We didn't just want the sort of familiar, we wanted it to be accurate, or as I say, at least as accurate as we understand it, given that these things died out over 60 million years ago. And the aircraft was a puzzle because we needed it to be a red-eye flight, and we needed a small amount of passengers, which any airline, aircraft that flies has got to be a viable operation. So we had to invent an airliner that would do that, and so we came up with the Skyliner Y120, which is an aircraft that's as much for cargo as it is for passengers. So it's a small crew, and it's a small number of passengers that take off. So that was important as well, because again, it's got to be plausible and it's got to be feasible. So there's a little Easter egg in that actually, because many years ago I used to work for Datsun, or as they were called in other parts of the world, Nissan, before they became Nissan in the UK. And they had two models, which was the Skyline and the 120Y, and so it was just a combination of those two names. So there's just a little Easter egg there, but there's many other Easter eggs in the book as well. There's album names and places and people and things. So that's always fun. But yeah, there was a lot of research, and also into the operation of how paleontologists work and air crash investigators, the flight recording boxes, or the black boxes as they're sometimes called. And other things. So that was very time consuming, but also immensely enjoyable, because it meant we could get the fine details absolutely spot on. So the logline that we've come up with is Lost meets the Lost World, with a bit of X-Files thrown in for good measure. So if you like a good thriller that's got time travel and dinosaurs and human relations, and all these kind of things, and a bit of FBI conspiracy, then I think you should enjoy Tomorrow's Flight.